What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Casey, and we are discussing the fourth episode of the eighth season of Fear the Walking Dead. This one is titled King County. We went back home to Georgia, and I was not ready. I know I was saying I was ready for this episode. I was not ready for the amount of gut wrenching heartbreak they put us through with this episode.
Yeah. But
So,
it had to happen. We had to get back here at some point.
yeah, but okay, so I know we had to get back here, which was good. It was interesting seeing everything, kind of, it's been shit almost a
10
decade
years.
now, or a little bit over a decade, I think, at this point, since Morgan has been there. So it's interesting seeing what it looks like now. But, we have been talking throughout the main show, and since we started covering this show for, the last few episodes, we were talking about Morgan and, his state of mind, the things that he needs to do in order to move forward. And one of the things that we always speculated, or at least that I speculated, was that he still needed to put Jenny to rest because, after what happened with Duane. Girl,
Right.
when he walked up to that house, he was like, I'm here. I was like, wait, something's not right, because he said to Rick, when Rick found him, he was like, after she attacked Duane, he was like, I finally did what I was supposed to do, what I couldn't do. So I was like, why is he? And I was like, before he uttered the word Duane. Girl, when he said Duane's name, when I tell you, I immediately started bawling and I paused the TV. I was like, oh, y'all finna fuck me up this whole episode. Duane has been in there as a walker this whole time.
10 years.
And you know what?
So we think. So we think in the
Okay,
beginning.
so
Because
we'll get
honestly,
we'll
in the
get to that.
beginning,
We'll get
I
to
didn't
that.
think it was one.
We'll
Okay.
we'll, we'll No, it was Duane. But we'll get to that because I had my own thoughts about the end of that episode. But when he walks up to the house, and he has a lot of trepidation. He's like going up the stairs. He's coming back, and he was like, I'm here. And you can hear walkers in the house. And he was like, I'm sorry it took me so long. And then he says, Duane. I was like, but it makes so much sense now. Everything that we have seen Morgan go through, and everything that he's been through mentally, his philosophy about certain things, why he can't do certain things, it's like it makes so much sense now to me why he is the way he is. Because one of the things that you see, once he kind of gets scared off, because he goes up to the door and he starts having flashbacks of Duane's voice in his head, and he was like, no, no, and he runs away from the house, and he goes to
Right.
find these walkers that were around the corner feeding on a skunk, and he starts hitting them and killing them. And he was like, I can kill you, I can kill you, I don't know why I can't do it. And it's almost like, if you think about the way he is when he kills walkers, even before he got to fear, it's almost like he was killing walkers with a certain, I won't say a mission, but it's like he was trying to prove something. Like he couldn't kill live people, or he couldn't kill the people that, he knew, Jenny, and now we find out Duane. But it's like walkers, no problem. Like he was so
Anybody
good
he didn't
killing
know.
them. And I feel
Yeah.
like it was his way of proving to himself that he could do this. So it's like he said, why can't I do this other thing? Why can't I
Right.
put you, why can't I put you down, Duane? And I'm like, dude, because that's your son, regardless of, just like Jenny was his wife. The only
Yeah.
reason why he ended up putting her down is because she attacked Duane.
Right.
So, girl, I was like, okay, y'all finna rip my heart out from the beginning of the episode. Okay. So if this is how y'all starting this shit, it's about to be crazy. I was like, okay, let me just go on ahead and prepare. Go on ahead and prepare. So I have different thoughts about this episode. Well, before we get into like dissecting the episode, what did you think about the episode? Like
All together.
altogether.
Um, there were some good parts and some bad parts, and some I'm so tired of this parts.
Okay. Okay. So we
You
kind of
know.
feel the same way.
Okay.
Because I have the same feeling like Lenny James, Karen David, just Morgan and Grace. You know, Morgan and Grace is one of my ships in this series. Like, I love them. I really want them to have a happy ending. I don't think they're going to get it after the events of this episode, but still, it's kind of
Right.
like for them to have been this close and so far apart these last 7 years, you know, they're still around each other, but they're obviously not together because, as you know, she mentioned to Mo in the last episode, I think it was in this episode, she was like, yeah, you know, we couldn't let Padre know how much we mean to each other, or else they would use that against us. So it's like for
Right.
them to still have that much love and to go through all of this, and for her to be there while he has to deal with this whole thing with Dwight, it's like I was feeling some kind of way. I was loving it. But then when you factor in the stuff with Mo, and let me be upfront when I say this. I'm not talking about the actress. I'm not talking about how she's acting. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking strictly about the material they are giving this child. Because my thing is, first of all the stuff that's happened in this episode, um, just the things that they have her doing. You know, what was the thing that Morgan said to her? You are way smarter than you have every right to be. Uh-huh, she is. Because some of the stuff they have her doing, I feel like it doesn't make sense for someone who's supposed to be 8 years old and who grew up in
Right.
isolation, who grew up on an island, had never seen the outside world, had never been in these situations. But this
She
chick
know everything.
But this chick knew enough to send a coded SOS message with Dock of the Bay on it. She knew she knew enough to deduce which King County he came from, because it's not like he had King County, Georgia on that wall. He just had King County. And if you know anything about geography, especially here in the States, you're going to find repetition in almost every single state of certain things. Certain city names repeat in multiple states, certain county
Yep.
names repeat in multiple states. Now, I will say this, the fact that she was able to figure out which King County it was, the fact that Grace was able to find him, and the fact that Dwight and Sherry were able to find him, I think that lends itself to our theory from last week that they have to be somewhere on the Georgia coast near Alabama. Because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things Grace says when she gets out of the truck and she sees him, she was like, what are you doing this far inland? Not what are you doing this far east? What are you doing this far away from home? What are you doing this far inland? They have to be somewhere on the Georgia coast, that top western Florida coast, or somewhere on the Alabama coast. They have to
Yeah.
be.
Yes.
It has to be in
I
that little area somewhere.
I
Because
agree.
again, we're still talking about maybe a week and a half since the last episode, since Finch got bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like we said, Morgan will walk. Okay. Morgan will walk. Morgan will walk, especially when he has something he needs to do. So
But again, he walked with no coat, no supplies, no. He didn't have anything. He has his stick.
so it couldn't have been
So
for too long. It's not like he was walking
couldn't have been.
maybe
No.
hours, maybe a day, because this is Morgan. We've seen him do more with less. Let's be
Yes.
honest.
Well,
But
benefit of the doubt, it's been a day.
yeah, but
But I don't see it being many more days than that.
mm-mm.
You didn't prepare for this trip.
Mm-mm.
Unless the theory was, I'm gonna just go here, do this, and be back.
Which it probably was, because if you think about it, the conversation that led him here was Madison in the back of the truck saying,
Mm-hmm.
why is it that you think you can't be what you need to be for Mo? What is holding you back? You know, is it something you can fix? And he was like, not really, not the worst of it. She said, but you can fix something. He was like, yeah. So apparently, obviously, he was talking
It's
about the
that.
fact that he had killed Jenny's walker, but he left Duane, and now he has to fix that. So I'm
Which
gonna
is
come back.
understandable.
Right, I'm gonna come back to the Mo thing because I want to talk about that. So once Grace finds him, you know, and he's like, how did you know I was here? What are you doing here? She was like, you sent me an SOS. And he was like, no, I didn't. Nobody knew I was coming. And she was like, are you sure? Then of course they figure out somebody's in the back of the truck, and it turns out to be Mo. And we find out that Mo has orchestrated this whole thing. I knew if I sent I know. I knew if I sent you a message, she would think you would think it was from him, or he would think it was from you, or whatever it was that she was trying to do. She was basically trying to get her parents together, because she, again, now that she knows she has parents, she wants out of PADRE. And of course, she's dealt with the whole Daniel and Madison situation. So she has a little glimmer of hope, which I can understand. As a kid, if I find out that my parents are alive and that they really did want me and blah blah blah, okay, be willing to try and do some things. But again, they are assigning attributes to an 8-year-old child who has been sheltered, who has never been around people that she cared about. And I just feel like PADRE is not teaching these kids how to read a map. Not like that. They are not teaching these kids how to send SOS. Maybe they are in some instances, but Doc of the Bay, I was like, okay, first of all, how did she even know that? And then when Sherry and Dwight come in later on, and Morgan is like, how did y'all find me? And Sherry is like, really, Morgan? Coordinates and Doc of the Bay, you really think we wouldn't be able to figure that out? I'm like, you and Grace need a new song, because a secret code should not be able to be that easily
Ain't
determined.
secret if everybody know it. It ain't secret if everybody know it.
But going back to what I was saying about Morgan and knowing that Duane is still walking around as a walker, and how that explains a lot of his behavior, I feel like when he tells the story to Grace and Mo, and he's telling them, he was like, it always came down to food. Same thing he told to Rick when Rick first found him after a few years. He said it always came down to food. I went down to the basement, he was upstairs, and when I came back, she was in front of him, and he couldn't do it. And I called, at least what he told Rick, I called his name, and as soon as I called his name, she was on him, and I was finally able to do what I was supposed to do. Now, in this version, he says all of this, but he also says there, he was like, there was so much blood and teeth, and I just ran. I ran away from here, and I left my boy to become one of them. Now, at first, I was shocked. I was sitting here watching this with my mouth open, because I was like, how, like, you're thinking, how dare you? How dare you do that to your child? You let your child do that. But again, I've never had to be in that position. I don't know how I would react. And he even says it's a blur. He doesn't remember much. It comes back to him in bits and pieces. But the other thing that I was thinking was, I didn't think that no matter what state of mind he was in, I feel like Morgan would not have done that. He would not have left Duane. Yeah, he would not have left Duane like that in there. Something about that didn't sit right with me. And then, of course, when we see the reveal at the end that Duane was actually at the house that he and Morgan stayed at, and Morgan was like, did I bring him back here? I have some other thoughts about that, but it was just like, again, I feel like a lot of that speaks to Morgan's state of mind and everything that we've seen him go through ever since he rejoined the group. Because can you imagine the amount of guilt that is sitting in your head and in your heart, knowing that you left your child to turn, that you didn't put, like, it's bad enough.
You didn't end it for him.
Right. It's bad enough you left your wife to walk around like that. I mean, if I remember correctly, you were a little bit surprised about the fact that she turned, because this was right at the beginning. You didn't know what to do back then. And then, of course, this thing is walking around with your wife's face. I know it would be hard to sit there and shoot it, even though technically speaking, she was already dead.
I was gonna say that ain't her no more.
It's not her no more, but it still looks like her. But to know that not only could you not do that for your wife, but you couldn't do it for your child. There has to be such self-hate in Morgan. And I understand it now.
And disappointment.
His character a whole lot better now.
And disappointment.
Yeah.
Like, but my thought when I saw him at the end tied up in the attic, even though this is just my thought, because even though he was bit and he couldn't put him down, he still wanted to keep him safe. He wanted to make sure nobody else got to him and make sure nobody else hurt him.
And I think that too, but I think I have the episode playing in the background. I'm waiting for it to get to the end because I've rewatched this episode like halfway through, but I haven't gotten back to the end yet, because I was wondering, was Morgan even the one that took him back to the cellar? Because if you think about it, Morgan says he ran off. He was like, I don't remember anything else. It was a blur. I ran and left him. And when I think he did. I'm kind of starting to think that,
because I don't see anybody else doing that.
No. But this is the thing. I wasn't thinking anybody else. I was thinking that Duane didn't die immediately. That he probably left the house looking for his dad. And once he realized what was going to happen to him, maybe he was the one that tied himself up. That's what I thought at first when I first watched it.
Okay. No, I don't think that. Because keep in mind, Duane was Mo's age.
No, Duane was a little bit older than that.
Was he? But even still, to have the wherewithal to tie yourself up. But then it has to be Morgan, because all the writing is on the wall when you go up there.
See, that was the other thing that I was sitting here wondering, because I was like, did Morgan write that, or did Duane write that? And was that something that he was mimicking from his father, or was it something that Duane made? Morgan ended up going back, because I didn't see everything that was on the wall. But if you think about it from a different perspective, which it probably isn't, but I thought about this when I first saw it. If you think about it, that whole you were supposed to do it, that could have easily been Duane telling his father, you were supposed to take care of this. You were supposed to do this for me. You were supposed to protect me. I was like, yeah.
I don't see that.
I don't now, but it is what I thought about when I first watched it.
I do see it as Morgan doing it, and parts of him blocking that out. That I see.
Yeah.
Because it's a traumatic experience. So you want to block out, like, oh my God, I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to, none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I see. I do see him tying him up so he's safe, so to speak. I do see him writing what he wrote. I do see him then blocking that out, because I can't believe that I let this happen. Had I done what I was supposed to do in the beginning, none of this would have happened. But because I feel as the dad to take care of this issue, it now cost my son his life. So let me protect him best way I can.
Yeah.
And then once he did, because you remember how he was when he didn't even know who Rick was back on the Walking Dead.
He was out of it. He
didn't even know who Rick was. And it took him a minute, and he was like, "You supposed to be on the goddamn walkie-talkie? What the fuck?" So I can see where, if you go back to that state of mind when they found him in the Clear episode, he wasn't. It took him a minute to get back to. But even after he knew who Rick was, and he knew that, he's like, I just got to clear. He wasn't even still where the Morgan he is now.
Mm-hmm.
He was still somewhat in that mindset, although Rick may have, chipped into it a little bit, but he still was in that mindset of, no, I got to keep clean.
And I agree with all that. But when I first saw this episode, that I was thinking the other, because I was like, if you really, so obviously the Fear people, the writers feel like Morgan ain't been through enough trauma. So my thinking was, when I saw Duane and when I saw all this other stuff, I was like, wouldn't that be so much worse if Duane didn't die immediately and he had the strength to pull himself back, go back to the house looking for his daddy and realize his daddy left him. That would be so much more tragic for Morgan to realize that. And that's what I thought when I first watched this episode. I was like, did Duane do that himself? Like, because if you think about it, okay, so yes, we're talking about Duane was young and blah blah blah, but okay, he was older than Mo supposed to be in this episode, and Mo can apparently figure a whole bunch of shit out. So if you look at it in that sense, between the weeks when Rick left and when Duane died, Morgan could have taught Duane a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, this is what we do. If this happens, like, he could have been like, because Morgan could have easily died and left Duane behind. He could have been like, okay, so if I get bit, if this happens, you got to tie me up here. You got to make sure I stay here so I don't hurt you, this, that. He could have done all of those things. And that's what I was thinking when I first saw this episode. Like, maybe he taught Duane those kinds of things. And again, Duane went back to the house and looked for him. I'm glad you don't think that it was that, because I was like, when I thought it, I was like, that would be so much more depressing if that's what the case was.
Right.
But
I don't foresee all that. It's just a little much.
It's just my imagination.
Yes, because it's much more easier for him to just tie him up and leave him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Much more plausible too.
That's true. But yeah, so anyway, like we said, Morgan has gone back to King County. Grace and Mo have followed him. So have Dwight and Sherry. And Dwight and Sherry are trying to bring him back to PADRE because, of course, PADRE has Finch. Finch has been bitten. They say that he's responding to the treatment, I guess, but he's still, he's still there with PADRE. And they're holding it over Sherry and Dwight's head. Now, they've got to try to bring Morgan in. And Morgan is like, look, I just came to put my boy to rest. And of course, they're not believing him, because why would they? After 10 years, 7 years, whatever the case may be, now, right, when you could have done this so long ago. But they don't understand his motivation. Like, he can't move on and be the dad he needs to be for Mo until he takes care of what he needs to do for Duane. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this. I love Sherry and Dwight. Y'all got on my goddamn nerves this episode. I mean, I understand your son is being held hostage, but y'all have known Morgan a very, very long time. One, y'all already know, don't fuck with Morgan when he gets in when he gets into a certain mindset. Or at least, if Sherry doesn't really know, Dwight knows. Don't fuck with Morgan when he get into a certain mindset. Two,
I'm just super.
Don't threaten his family.
And that's what I'm super over. I'm super over we only doing this to save our son. Okay. I'm super over it. I get it. I get it. But ain't nobody else going through nothing right now. It's just
right.
Because at this point,
I will say this too. Dwight and Sherry did have babysitters with them who had guns. So I can understand. But I mean, at least to the point where you're like, when he's like, I just need to put my boy down. That's all. Just let me do that. Let Grace and Mo go. No, Grace and Mo were there. Let Grace and Mo go because Patrick sent them after him. She let Mo go in the last episode when she left her with Madison and Daniel's group. You could have just let her go. Anyway, I mean,
They are
I understand.
beating
I understand.
it over and over.
I understand.
It's like we did this already. Let's do it one more time for the road.
I will say this too. Okay, so when they finally get away from Sherry and Dwight, they go to the old house that Morgan stayed with Duane. They go into the house. It obviously looks like somebody used to use it, and Morgan is telling them, "Hey, do this, do this. Mo, go upstairs. There should be a gun still upstairs. If it is, there's ammo in the up under the bed. Blah blah blah." Grace coming up to him, "I'm not going anywhere until you tell me how you know where everything is in this house."
You knew this where he from.
Process of elimination, maybe. But I don't know. That was just there were certain things that the writers have done with this show and with this episode that just kind of irked me. So anyway, let's go back to talk. Let's talk about Mo a little bit. I'm not gonna have my real gripes about Mo and the things that she does and can do or whatever until we talk about the next episode. But for right now, let's focus on this one. Okay. Again, you have an 8-year-old kid who has been raised on an island all her life, devoid of most human contact, devoid of most adult contact, devoid of any loving contact, which I understand could be her motivation for wanting to do this, because she's like, okay, I want to see what it's like having parents. The little joke she said when they realized what she had done, she was like, is this what this feels like? What? Getting in trouble with your parents? Like, how does she even know that? Because nobody in PADRE would have told her that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like certain.
It ain't like you seen no TV show to, call back to.
Right. And honestly,
I'm sure I ain't seen no TVs on PADRE.
No TVs. I don't see PADRE allowing for recreational fiction reading, because what are most fiction
recreational
books?
Fiction reading?
Right, because what are most fiction books about? Family, relationships, love, all the things that PADRE basically is trying to teach these kids, not to want, not to desire, not to have in their lives. So it's just certain things about what the things that she knows, they just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
I can recall back to when my kids was 8, 9-ish. Them motherfuckers wasn't. Nah, I wouldn't trust them to load a rifle, go get my gun.
Well, okay, so that part,
stand on the porch and beat these walkers in the head. Like, I mean, that portion you learn, but some of the stuff as an 8-year-old are, come on now.
See, I would believe for Mo, because of where she was raised, I would believe that part more than I believe her having this nuanced conversation with her parents about things that she doesn't really understand. That just doesn't make sense to me, but
or Morse code, Dock of the Bay.
So I'm trying to
wait. Was Dock of the Bay one of the songs on the recorder?
I think so. Yes, that was okay. Like, yeah,
the
carnival episode and everything. I think that was that was kind of like their song. Which okay. I understand. Okay. She might have figured that out. She might have heard it on the recorder, whatever the case may be.
Sure,
but again, I don't know. Again, it's just, I feel like they're giving her more smarts for an 8-year-old than she should have, given the circumstances that she grew up in. For someone like Judas, it would make sense because Judith was raised around people who loved her, not just, oh, we're going to train. Because, yes, Michonne trained her daughter to wield a sword and to kill walkers, but that's not all she did. Judith was raised in love. She was raised knowing she had a brother that loved her. She had a dad that loved her. She had TT Rosita over here. She had Aunt Carol. She had the king. She had all these other people around her.
Yep.
And she was still doing things like, homework, reading through textbooks. Negan was, in his own way, teaching her about the world that was. So it makes more sense for a character Judith's age. And then again, when we meet Judith as a big kid, she's supposed to be 10 already. This kid is only supposed to be 8. She didn't have any of that. None of that. Does Shrike look like the type of person who's going to tuck a kid into bed? No.
Hell no.
No. They're raising these kids to learn to live life without all of those creature comforts. So it bothers me because it doesn't make sense. It just really, really doesn't. It does lend for some nice dialogue between her and Morgan and Grace, and we get to see a lot more of Grace and Morgan's interactions and conversation, which we should have been getting this. But anyway, let's move on a little bit. So when Morgan finally goes upstairs to the room where, the gun was Rick's gun, the gun that Rick gave him, Grace follows him. Mo is there because Dwight and Sherry, they started, they started sending flares up so that the walkers will come to the house and force them out. So when they come into this bedroom, of course, there's the writing on the walls. Same kind of writing that was in the boathouse, same kind of writing we've seen Morgan do. And I'm looking in the background, you know what you did, or clear. Oh, you know what you were supposed to do. And Morgan is confused because Grace and them is like, did you do this? And he was like, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember ever coming back here after Duane died. Like, he completely blocked that out.
Yeah. It's clear you did. Clear.
Because the writing's on the wall. Like, literally the writing's on the wall.
Same writing on the same writing in your clear apartment. Same writing on the houseboat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, he probably did. He was in shock, did all those things, and got the hell on. Mm-hmm. So of course he remembers running. Of course he remembers, not being there. He remembered Duane being bit, and shit. From there, it's shock. Everything that happened subsequently after that, he in shock about it. Because how I let my only child who I'm supposed to protect get bit? How?
Right. Because I mean
that I believe that's that part. That's the part.
Yeah.
That's the part. Because you come upstairs, you say all you see is red. She was on him before you could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You shot her. But then once you did, you shot her, got your son, and took the hell off. Because I'm sure, as with anybody who get bit, you're not just like, oh, you bit, let me leave you. No, you scooped his ass up and you ran back home. And then once you saw, once you bit here or anywhere that you can't cut off,
his face. It was his face. If you look at the walker,
okay, when they come up, I'll look at it.
His face is mangled.
So he didn't have there was no cut this piece off. Mm-mm. There was none of that.
It was all on this side.
He had to. He all he could do was tie his ass up. I can't kill you right now, but I don't want nobody else to kill you either.
And
maybe he thought after 10 years, maybe somebody would have come around and scavenged the house and possibly done it.
Right.
And then all you gotta do is, like Jenny's body was there, all you gotta do is go back and bury him. But the other thing that amazed me is that this area nobody came back to. No, nothing was scavenged. Nothing was.
No.
We gonna lead this. Lead this.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Because
if
I
you
mean
scavenge,
that whole, but I mean even in the first days afterwards, when Rick first came out the hospital, there was nobody there because I think and I feel like that area probably got evacuated and people just never went back because before things got really bad, it was still taking people quite a while to turn. So it's like you would get bit, you would die. And it might, like with Amy, it took hours
yeah,
before she turned.
true.
So maybe it was just to the point where when they evacuated, people were able to, like, okay, let's pack up some stuff, let's take it. They had a little more time, or they weren't as panicked until they realized how widespread this was becoming.
Yeah, because remember, Lori had time to take the pictures off the wall.
Take the pictures off the wall, packed the photo albums, packed most of the food, packed a lot of clothes. So yeah, they probably had more time in those days. And maybe people have come through and scavenged and be like, well, ain't really shit else here, so we're just gonna leave it. And Morgan would have been the type of person who probably would have hid that stuff very well. I mean, he was able to find tomatoes to get the skunk smell out of the clothes, which is just hilarious to me. But I just, maybe it's just one of those places where it was so far off the map that people were just like, yeah, it's no sense in us even going there. Could have been. But yeah, I mean,
it was far inland. It was far inland.
It was far inland. Yeah. And if you think about it, most of the people, if they had a sense of mind like Rick did, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to the CDC. The CDC will have an answer for this. Mm-hmm. They're going to try to go to, think about what our group tried to do. They tried to go to Fort Benning. People would have probably tried to go to any military base because they think they would be safe there. They would probably try to go to the CDC. Some of them probably would have figured out that they might have been safer near the water. So some of them may have gone to coastal towns. So something, quote unquote, like Grace said, that far inland, people are probably like, no, I'm not going there.
Right.
But anyway, so Morgan starts telling Grace about that room and the gun, because the rifle is still in the room. And of course, this is where we get him mentioning Rick Grimes, and everybody, cheered. But, he starts telling them about Jenny and how, she would come back to the house and Rick gave him the gun to put her down. And he really wanted to do it because he didn't want Duane to have to see his mom like that, but he just could never do it. Right. And he was just like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sitting here looking clear. You know what you were supposed to do, Duane. And then it said turned. And I do, you know what? I do remember seeing turned on the wall in the clear apartment, but it just never crossed my mind that he would have let Duane turn and left him like that.
Right.
But I do think I remember seeing Duane turned on that wall in the clear apartment.
I'm gonna have to Google it and look it up.
Of course we're gonna have to do that. But also Mo trying to figure out all this other stuff, like what does clear mean? Oh, the way she figured out
that is his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they got the actor to come back and play it. Both of the actors for Jenny and Duane came back, because even though Jenny's her walker, he did kill her walker, and we saw that she was quite mummified, desiccated, whatever you want to call it. She did not look like her. But throughout the episode, every time he, pulled up a gun and was trying to protect Mo, he would see Jenny on the other end of the scope, and it was fucking him with him real bad, And I kind of feel like, in a sense, like, I'm not sure if this is what they meant, but I felt like, in a sense, it was Jenny kind of taunting him, like, oh, so you're going to do everything you can to protect this child when you couldn't protect ours? That's what I feel like his mind was trying to, play them jokes on him. Like, oh yeah, you about to fuck up because you're gonna keep seeing her while you trying to protect this. And I was like, that's so
Right.
but um but yeah, so oh, I remember what it was I was gonna say. Mo figuring out about Kings County, and that's where Morgan was gonna go. She said, what did she say? Madison said you had to take care of something. So how did you know I was here? She was like, because you had King County on the wall, and I knew it was important by the way that you told me it wasn't. She is not smart enough. I'm sorry. She has not been exposed to people enough. I didn't mean to say she's not smart enough. She has not been exposed to people enough to understand that kind of nuance, that kind of manipulation, that kind of white lie, that kind of, oh, I'm not, she has not been around people enough to know that. She's only been around other children and the PADRE people. And I can guarantee you the PADRE adults are not having conversations with her like that. So again, that's one of the things that was bugging me about this episode, because they're writing her in a way that doesn't make sense for her character. And you're making her seem older than 8. It's already bad enough the girl don't look 8. And I was trying to figure this out. I posted this question on Twitter. I said, why was the show so adamant that it's only 7 years? Because this kid does not look 8. Finch does not look 7. But somebody said maybe it was just because they wanted this show to line up with the other show, which to me, again, tells me that y'all have plans to tie the shows together.
Absolutely.
Because other than that, it wouldn't make a difference if it was 7 years, if it was 12 years, if it was 15 years. Y'all could have told me this child was 11, 12, I would believe it. 8, no. The way y'all have her acting and deducing things and figuring things out, things that she shouldn't even be familiar with, no.
He'd be a senior in high school right now.
Nah, she don't look that old. But
no, mentally.
Girl, it don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, so there are some throwbacks that I loved in the episode. The fact that Mo found the pictures, the photo album with all of his pictures, that was so sweet to me. And then of course, she was like, I like seeing you smile, because he's smiling in the pictures. And then Grace brings up, she was like, I remember the first time I saw you smile, the carousel. I was like, y'all finna kill me. And then she was like, what have we been doing these 7 years? What we thought we had to do. And you see all this regret. And then Mo was like, did you guys ever see each other? And I mean, the way that they're looking at each other, they can't take their eyes off each other. And they're telling her, they were like, we saw each other here and there, but if PADRE knew what we meant to each other. And Grace is so heartbroken. She's like, I'm sorry we wasted all that time. And I'm like, okay, but y'all can fix that now. Just take your daughter, get the hell on. Y'all can fix this.
But what happens? What happens? Because first, wait, pause. Before we even get to this part, keep in mind when Grace and Morgan first started, when he saw it was her in the truck and he was talking to her and she was like, the cancer back. I said,
oh no, this was not until she didn't say that until like they were in the house. They were in the house. They had
wherever she said it.
Yes.
Wherever she said it. When she said it, this was me. Because it just die. Just die.
No, girl,
you have been doing more shit. No.
So that actually to me made sense. That was probably one of the only things in the episode, as far as like that kind of stuff, that made sense, because we know Grace had heavy radiation exposure.
True.
When she had Athena pulled that out of her. But that doesn't mean that it was gone. It took a while to come back. And I mean, think about it. Grace has lived on borrowed time for 8 years. So
Get
the
it.
fact that
But
it even took that long to come back is a miracle in and of itself. But I was just like, okay,
I get
so
it.
she done been through all this stuff. She finna had this cancer. I was like, okay, but then they started talking about, okay, well, we're gonna do this and we're gonna be together, we're gonna be a family. And I was just sitting here looking at the TV screen like,
There go to hope.
y'all finna fuck me over. What is it? Anthony says, hope is where dreams go to die. I was like, y'all about to fuck me over, aren't you?
As soon as she
Because
had
this
her
is what I
uncle,
want.
we can be a family.
I
And
told
we
Lenny
can
this when
be
he was
together.
at Dragon Con. I said, I just want Morgan and Grace to live happily ever after. And I just need it. I just need it. Look, do you see what my screen is on my phone? When she and Morgan finally kissed, I put that on my background. That shit was funny when she was like, "What are you guys doing?" When Mo said, "What are you guys doing?" And they were like, "You've never seen anybody kiss." Again, this child ain't never seen nobody kiss. So how the hell she know all this other stuff that she shouldn't know? Don't make sense. It does not make
Of
sense.
course it does in the world of The Walking Dead.
Anyway, so like I said, Dwight and Sherry, they're trying to flush him out. They're literally putting walkers, they're setting walkers on fire and sending them towards the house to try to flush them out. That was one thing that they did. And then I think it got caught on fire by the flare or something like that. So what they decide to do, okay, they're gonna come out the house. Mo knows how to kill. I hate saying carrion. Mo knows how to kill a walker. Grace knows how to kill a walker. Morgan has the gun. He's like, I'll clear the way. Y'all kill him, straight line, and we get out of here. Of course, that doesn't work because when Morgan looks through the scope, he sees
All
Jenny.
he said.
All he's seeing is
Thought
Jenny.
was, why can't he just use his stick?
Because I think the gun, for the circumstances they were in, made more sense. But anyway, so he sees Jenny, and Grace is of course fighting the walkers. Mo is doing great, but then she starts to get overwhelmed, and Grace sends her back in the house, like, get back in the house, lock the door.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan has told Dwight and Sherry at this point, again, he has reiterated, this is what I need to do. This is the only reason why I came back to King County, because PADRE has it in her mind, Shrike, that Morgan came back for weapons. Morgan came back for reinforcements, all this other stuff. Morgan's like, I just came so I could bury my son, so I could put my son to rest. That's all I want to do. Now, I will say this, as much as Dwight and Sherry got on my nerves a little bit, these other two soldiers that were with them, y'all really getting on my nerves. This dude is obviously, like, I understand you probably know Morgan's reputation, you know what he's capable of, but the fact that you finna try and walk up on him while he's trying to take care of this, and Dwight had to be like, no, it's okay, it's okay. Like, bruh, you don't want that smoke with Morgan, especially not right here, right now in this house while he's about to confront what he thinks is his dead son. You don't want that smoke.
And then when you put the gun to his head, he was like,
because what happens is Morgan, he has Dwight open the door. They go back to the house. They come in. They hear Walker walking around. Morgan is fully prepared to kill Duane, but the Walker is not Duane. He's like, it's not him. It's not him. So he does kill that Walker. And then, of course, he looks over. Here's Jenny, still on the ground where he laid her out after she attacked their son. And the thing that really got on my nerves about these other soldiers, and then about Shrike calling in on the radio and do this and do this and blah, 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 blah. This man is already grieving. Okay. He thought that his son was here and he's not. He just sees the further zombified corpse of his wife. He's starting to lose it. You can tell he's calling for his son. He's trying to figure out. And the fact that his son has what he thinks has gotten out is getting to him. If y'all have ever seen Morgan in this state, and we know that Dwight has, we know that, you know, yeah, to leave him the fuck alone. This man is dealing with some stuff.
Remember, Morgan Jones doesn't die.
Give him some time to process what's going on. Because on top of all of that, now he's starting to take the guilt into himself. I put you in more danger for nothing. You know, he was like, I waited too long. He got out. And here come the soldier with the gun. Shrike wants answers. Why did you really come here? And Grace is like, look, he told you he was coming for his son. Who was it that said bullshit, Grace? Was that Sherry? Yeah. I'm sorry. Sherry need a slap. She needs a slap.
And she should know better because the depths and the things that she went through for her own son. Girl, shut the hell up.
So they sitting here. They put Shrike is on the radio. She still put him on the radio. I want to know, why is he there? Why is he there? And Dwight is telling them, look, y'all, give him a minute. Give the man a minute. He needs some time to process this. And Morgan is at this point, he's looking at gun barrel dead in the face. I mean, he's looking at the soldier who's holding the gun straight down the barrel, dead in his face. Grace is starting to plead with him. Morgan is like, oh, you know what? Y'all can go ahead and kill me. He was like, right. Bitching. If you gonna do it, do it. He puts that thing right on his head. Grace is still over there hollering. And this dude, I was like, hold up. Y'all not finna sit here and do this. Yeah, no. I don't remember what happened. Morgan flinched, whatever, but Dwight knocks one soldier out, Sherry gets the other one, and I'm just like, oh, that's what it was. Dwight attacked him. And he was like, why would you do that? And Dwight's like, I'm about to watch you get killed in cold blood. Like, all this shit, all this PADRE shit, this is just like being at the sanctuary all over again.
And they keep saying that. They keep saying that, but you keep then falling in line and doing whatever the fuck this bitch tell y'all to do.
Well, here's the thing, because PADRE has something to use against them, but they gotta get to a point where they call PADRE's bluff. Because again, I don't think PADRE's gonna really kill children. Now, granted, she let that biter walk into Finch, but that's because she so strongly believes that June can come up with a cure. If there was no hope for a cure, I don't think she would have done that. But she did that so she could prove a point.
She always proving points.
She is. She's trying.
She always got a point to prove. Because she's up.
Sherry and Dwight have to try to figure out how to get to Finch. And they call back in the Shrike. Okay, so your soldiers are unconscious right now. We're not doing shit else for you until we talk to our son. Now again, this is only taking place a few days, probably like a week after this incident. Finch is sitting next to Shrike and he looks mighty healthy for now anyway. But I was like, did June really figure it out? So anyway, Shrike finally acquiesces. She puts Finch on the radio. They talk to him. They're like, okay, are you okay? This, that, and other. So look, this is what we're about to do. You remember that move I showed you? I don't know why Shrike didn't catch that. But Finch trips her, knocks her out. Okay. That is definitely Dwight and Sherry's son. Okay, I can get that.
I'll give them. That I'll give them.
So they basically is like, they're like, look, there's a supply boat that's leaving in the morning. I need you to go get on that boat. We will meet you when it comes, you know, and we'll leave together. We'll go somewhere. Now, in the midst of all this, that's when Morgan and Grace are having their conversation, and this is when Grace admits to Morgan that she is sick. And I was just sitting there like,
for the 37,000th time.
Like, they just can't catch a break, which, okay, I understand it's the Walking Dead
That's the
world.
part that I was over. Like, honestly, that is the part that I was over. Because why? I mean, I guess I get it. Like,
I mean, let's think about it in this sense. People who fight cancer in this day and age, with all the medical technologies that we have here, all of the advanced treatments, you got to think about it. This particular timeline, they're right at the same time, but they don't have everything because their world has been to shit for 13 years now. Mm-hmm. In our world, with everything that we have, there are people who get cancer multiple times. They're cleared of it.
True.
They go into remission. It comes back. It comes back in a different form. So again, it was realistic, but I'm like you in the fact that I just want Grace and Morgan to catch a break. These are people who have lost the people they love. They have lost children. They, in a sense, have lost each other. They have lost another child that they took into their heart. They've lost all their friends and family. They need a break. And when she told him about being sick, I was just like, okay, so this is the thing that's going to push them to say, okay, you know what? We gotta go, you know? And Grace was telling him, she was like, look, you got to put this behind. You got to put this behind you. You got to put all this behind you. It's got to stop, you know? And she was like, I don't want to wait. We wasted so much time, you know? And what was the thing? She said something about, there's a reason why I didn't want you to hear what I was playing in the truck, because she was listening to headphones when she first got there. And she was like, the book, I was playing it at double speed. This is what she was doing before. And that's when she tells him, she's like, the radiation's caught up to me. I'm so sorry we wasted all this time. True. And Morgan's like, okay, you know what? We still got time. We can do this. Let's go get our child. Let's leave. And we can be a family for however long that is. Then here comes Mo on the radio. So yeah, there are some walkers on fire and the house is on fire and I'm in the house. Can't catch a fucking break. Can't catch a fucking break. So anyway, they go back to the house. Morgan has told Mo to go upstairs into the attic, you know, to get away from the flames. He was like, I'm coming, baby. I'm coming for you. You know, we're coming. So when she gets up to the attic, there's a lot of smoke. There's the writing on the walls. And she's looking around and she's confused. And then you hear a walker. And as soon as I heard that walker, I burst into tears again, because I was like, are they going to make us see Duane as a walker? And I didn't think it was going to be the same character, because of course it's been 12 years. Right. He's a grown man now. But, you know, the wonders of special effects makeup. Technology. Yeah. Because when Mo comes in, like I said, she's in the attic. She's looking around at everything. Morgan is he's a man on a mission now. You know, and I think,
you know what the funniest part of that whole thing for me, when she get upset, she go, Duane? Like he was gonna answer her.
I think it was probably just the fact that she was just so
I know, but that tickled me. I was like, he's not gonna answer you, boo-boo.
I know. But yeah. I was confused because like he was up there, but he wasn't coming out. And then when you see him finally come, come like reaching for her, and you see his face and the fact that he's changed, yeah, his whole right side of his face is mangled. And girl, he had on the same clothes that we saw him in. And I was just like, when I looked at this, I was just like, bawling, boo-hoo, just crying. And Morgan, at the same time, while all of this is going, while we're seeing Duane reaching for Mo, he's looking in his gun again, and here comes Jenny, and he just can't get the vision out. And it's like he's fighting himself. He's like, oh my God, I can't do it. And then he finally figures it out. Okay, you know what? I got to get to my child. At the same time, the damn ceiling caves in, traps Mo. And when Morgan comes upstairs, he sees all of the writing. He sees Duane's name. He sees where he wrote, "You stay there." And he is dumbfounded. He was like, I brought him here? And I was just like, even talking about it now, I have goosebumps, because that's when you do finally understand just how far gone he was. Girl, when I tell you, I cried throughout most of this episode. Everything that had to do with him, talking about Duane, talking about Jenny, him going through the realization that Duane wasn't in the house. And I had cried so much this episode. And at the same time, Mo was sitting there. She's calling him, Dad, help me. She's trying to get from under the thing. Duane is there. And then when Morgan puts the scope up and he sees Duane, he has to look away for a moment, because
it's your baby.
Right. And Mo is just sitting there, please, I know you can do it. Please help me. I know you can. And girl, when they started doing the flashes of Duane from that episode, you see his face, you see him in the police station, when he was taking a shower and being joyous, and you saw him holding it. Girl, I was bawling.
Why would you do this to me?
Bawling. But then when you hear him in the background, you hear him, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. That's when Morgan was like, no, because you have this ghost of a person in front of you, and you have this living child calling you for help as well. And at that point, you got to make a decision. You got to make a quick decision. And he goes to Mo, and he looks at Duane, and it's just like this look of horror, like, oh my God, did I really do this?
He had to, though.
But the other thing that irked me with that was when he came to check on Mo, and he was like, are you okay? She was like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. She has a smile on her face. And I know that probably wasn't anything intentional, and it's not anything, but because I think that for her, she was happy because that was the closure that Morgan needed in order for them to be a family. Huh?
You think that smile was
no? I think it was just basically, like she was saying, she was like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And she turned around and she had this hint of a smile. Like I said, I don't think it was anything sinister or whatever you want to call it. I think she was just in that moment, she realized they were gonna be okay, that he was gonna be okay, because he was now able to do the thing that he came to do. And what did he tell them at the beginning of the episode when she was talking about Madison, and she mentioned to them that Daniel was alive and they're going to take down PADRE? We can help with that. And Morgan was like, I think at that point he had a little bit of hope, because he was like, yeah, we can, but I got to do what I came to do first. So for her to see that he finally did that, I think she was happy that he was able to do it. It just felt wrong to see that. And I don't know if anybody else caught that, or if it just bothered anybody else the way it did. Because I was like, I understand you're proud of him, because she said you did it. And, again, she's happy. He was able to do what he came to do. And that means so much more for all of them, because now they can stay together. They can be a family. They can fight PADRE. together. Because at this point, Mo doesn't know about Grace being sick, you know? And after what happens in the attic, Morgan finally is able to put his wife and son to rest. He buries them in that basically in the wreckage, because the house is a fucking mess at this point. But you know, they have the conversation, Morgan and Grace, about, you know, what they're gonna do. They're gonna be a family. Mo is walking around in the little rubble, and I was just like, don't do this, don't do this, I was like, something's about to happen to her. Something's about to happen to her. She finds the photo album and she sits down and starts looking at the
Why
photos.
would you sit down?
Because
In your mind.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
get
mean, if you
it.
think about it,
I
you
get
think
it.
that Morgan killed everything when he was coming to get her, which he probably did. Something else probably showed up. But she's sitting there looking
I
at the
get it.
photo album. Morgan and Grace are talking about the future, and you know, he's like, we're gonna help Madison and Daniel with PADRE. We're gonna reunite every child who still has a parent out there, and then you, me, and Mo, we're gonna go be a family. We're gonna spend as much time together as we can, because she, you know, Grace thinks that she has probably months, maybe up to a year, maybe, you know, and that's with no treatment. Mm-hmm. So they're sitting there having this conversation, you know, and it's very sweet, it's very poignant, because she was like, you told me once that no matter what we had to do, I had to live, so that's what we're gonna do, live. They share this little hug, and I'm just sitting here feeling like, you know, they're like, when do we tell her? And he was like, well, she just got us all back together, we'll just hold off for a little bit, we're just gonna let her be happy. And I was just sitting here like, y'all are about to pull the rug from up under us. So again, she's sitting there, she's looking at the photo album, and I love that she's getting joy from looking at the pictures of him and his family. But she was like, I'm glad the picture survived. You need something to help you remember. And as soon as she said that, this damn walker comes out and grabs her. Similar to what happened with the governors. You remember the little girl. Remember, she was playing in the mud and that walker came out and kind of grabbed her. I was like, so we're about to see a repeat of this. But she fights off the walker a little bit, and then of course Grace and Morgan come over. And when I saw that walker grab Grace, I already knew before she did the reveal. I already knew what the fuck had happened. I was like, it's Carl all over again. It's Carl all over again.
I saw it and I said, because
while Morgan was sitting there checking her, and Grace was checking her, and then she turned around and you could see her doing it. I said, God damn it, she fucking got bit. I said, so it ain't even gonna be the cancer that's gonna kill her, it's gonna be a fucking bite. And of course, that's not something you can hide. She turns around, Morgan is happy because Mo was okay. He turns around and Grace shows him the bite, and I'm just like, mm-mm.
You see my favorite.
So fucking pissed.
And at that moment right there was a moment I was like, just die.
Fuck all y'all. Fuck.
Just
no,
kill her.
Because I didn't want Grace to die. Because
why go? No. Why keep going? Like, this bitch done been almost dead 37 times. Like, at this point, y'all don't want to own that no more. Y'all making it very clear. Just kill her.
But see, I
was more mad than anything. Like, come on now, shit.
So
even though we know that the sign of hope is the sign of your goddamn death, but even still, you want them to have that, and just goddamn, can we not have shit? We can't have shit. Can't. Not one happy couple at the end.
Can't. Not one. Right here, you know, Dwight and Sherry, they are reunited with Finch. Just as Morgan pulls up in the truck, he's like, yo, we need that boat. We need to go back to PADRE because Grace got bit. I was like, I can't. But you know, Morgan's like, that treatment that June has been using on your boy hasn't been working. They're like, yeah, he seems fine. It's been working. Okay, we got to get her to June. We got to go back to PADRE. I was like, God damn it, this ain't gonna work right. This ain't gonna work right. And
If
she
you
already,
know that Shrike is the person that you are dealing with, whatever made you think that that was okay?
but I mean, if you're in a situation where you have no, I mean, think about where she was bit. And when I say just like Carl, same side. Carl survived everything he survived. He got shot twice just to die from a walker bite. Same thing with Grace. She done survived radiation poisoning, a stillbirth, a fucking nuclear warhead detonation. She done survived all this, having to give up a second child, having to live without the man she loves, without the family she's built. She done got kidnapped. She got kidnapped by Jenny. She done went through all this stuff. She got cancer now. Cancer that she says she can probably, you know, still hold on for a few months to a year. And now she got a fucking walker by it. When I say I was pissed, I was like, okay. But then I said, okay. And again, here's my mistake. Hope is where dreams go to die. I was like, but if Finch is okay, June's June's treatment is working. That means she can be okay. That's really what I was hoping going into this. Now, do I don't know. Because even the way that she is in the boat, she seemed, because even with Carl, after Carl got bit, he was still doing stuff. I mean, think about it. He was still leading a a fight against Negan with his bite. But Carl didn't have any other underlying medical conditions. So I'm like, okay, this cancer is probably going to make it go faster. Whatever, whatever this infection is that is caused by the walker bites is going to run through her body quicker. So I was like, I mean, if they can get her to June, they might have a chance. But this is Fear the Walking Dead. This is the last season. We knew we weren't going to come away with the season with everybody safe. And I was just like, if it had to be anybody, did it have to be Grace? But anyway.
It did.
Shut up.
It did have to be her.
It did not. It did not.
It did.
You take the main beacon of hope, the one positive person out of all of them, the one who is
how Morgan gonna leave if his woman's still alive? How he gonna lead to the next show if his woman's still alive?
Because he could take her with him. Don't, you know what?
He might take Mo. Depending on where we are when the season ends.
That took Grace. See, he can take Grace because you know what? I still think the CRM is going to tie into this show too. So yeah, the CRM has medical facilities. He could. Let me not. But yeah. So anyway, I actually really did love this episode because I loved the nostalgia. I loved going back to Kings County. Yes, the story was so heartbreaking, but again, Lenny James, just him as Morgan, period. I fucking love him. Yes. And in this episode, he was just top notch. And I loved seeing it, but it's like, oh, we got more heart.
Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why?
I know. I really hate Michelle is not here to discuss this episode.
I know she has thoughts.
But she on a cruise somewhere, all out on the ocean and shit. So
fancy.
whatever. So she's actually gonna miss us discussing the rest of this first half of the season because she's gonna be gone for 10 days. She just left yesterday. So, or just left this
somewhere.
Right. But so your thoughts about this episode and how it ended?
Hurry up and kill Grace off.
You know what? I can't stand you. I cannot stand you. I cannot stand you.
I'm not the only one thinking it.
Can
There
we
are other
kill
people
Shrike instead? Can we kill Shrike? Can we transfer? Like, can we get her to June and
at some point.
and cure the walker bite from Grace, and then just
I also
just
feel like
get one of those walker heads to bite Shrike and just leave her. Because I'm telling you now, I have no sympathy for that bitch. I don't like her. I don't give a fuck what her backstory is. That bitch got to die.
yes.
She got to die.
And I don't think I'm. This may tie more into the next episode, but I just feel like this story plot is dragging out for them. I mean, I get it, but it's like, come on,
You
can
mean
we
for
get?
PADRE?
Yeah, it's like
It's
taking
feeling a
so
little
long.
bit like it's feeling a little bit like the Reapers.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're giving them all this stuff to do, or you're making them this big bad, but you're not really
Giving it what they need to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because it's like
I feel you.
let's get there. Let's get okay. We get it. Shrike is an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. What else?
Yeah, but she needs. I mean, she needs to die because she could have just look. If Morgan was gone, she could have just left Morgan alone, because Morgan left Mo with PADRE, said it was a better place for, for her. He left, went on the run because of Madison. If you knew he was already out of your vicinity, you could have just left him. Just leave him. Just leave him. Shrike just needs to die. Because here's the thing, she could have just left Morgan alone. She could have just left him alone. Let him go do whatever. If he was going to try to come back from Mo, okay, you have reinforced that he does not.
Do something then.
If she had left well enough alone, Morgan and Grace could have gone back to the house. They could have saved Mo. They could have got the hell on.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have even had to have gone through all of that, because the only reason why Mo ended up back in the house was because Dwight and Sherry called walkers to the house, because that's what the two people holding guns on them made them do. Shrike could have just left well enough alone and been like, look, we'll just wait him out. What the fuck else you got to do? You could have just waited him out and you would have been good. You would have got Mo back, maybe, because you already let Mo go once.
Exactly.
You could have, Grace. I mean, just she got to die. That bitch got to die. She got to die. And that's really all I have. That's really all I have to say to end this episode. Shrike needs to die. The bitch got to go.
On that note.
And so on that note, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.